today we have two speakers who will be telling us about how to build your personal brand, 如何建立个人的品牌。This is going to be the number 7 talk of this series, how Chinese break career glass ceiling, 华人如何突破职场天花板。And so we'll start with a talk by Paul. Paul is right. He is a tech interview coach for CGW. He has been doing that. This is his fourth time. He's currently a senior director engineer at Momentive.ai. And then and our guest speaker Chiro would give us the second talk. I will introduce Chiro before he speak. Paul is actually out of town, but he made a video for us. So I'm going to play. Let me know if you cannot hear.
大家好，我叫 Paul 黄，我现在是CGW Technical Interview 的一个 coach。那我也是在Momentive.ai 这公司担任 Senior Director of Engineering 角色。今天很高兴我要跟大家来聊一聊Your Brand or Personal Brand， 就是你的品牌。今天我会 cover 主要4个topics。第一个就是说你的 brand， 你的品牌的目的是什么 ？What is your brand for？ 第二个是说你的品牌 your brand 是由什么组成的？那有个人的意见来看，我觉得是你的 qualities， 还有你的 strengths， 就是你的特质。还有你的长处。第3个，我想请大家做一个练习，就是说，你的 manager 或者你的 partner， 为什么他们可以信任你呢？就是一个present 你的 brand 的一个 presentation。最后，我想要分享一个我一个基督徒的一个同事我 team 里面一个 engineer 他的故事。你的品牌到底是为了做什么呢？我觉得主要是为了你的 career advancement。这个品牌会跟着你的 career 一直走，当然你会一直的进步，但目的就是让别人认识你 know you， 还有 like you 喜欢你，还有 trust you。就像车子的品牌一样，当我们想到或提到Honda， 你就会知道说这是一个日本车，非常 reliable 的车。当你提到 BMW， 你就知道它的引擎非常的 powerful。当你提到 Tesla， 当大家知道是电车，而且可以 autopilot。接下来你的品牌到底是由什么组成的？像我刚刚提到的就是你的 qualities，你的特质，还有你的强项，你的长处。那首先我们提到qualities，到底有哪些 qualities 是我们在工作上面必须要具备的，或可以来培养的，或是来学习的哈。那我这边提到就是说，有一个牧师叫 Justin 他在德州的 Lakewood Church 牧会。那很有意思，就是说他每次主日的时候就带着大家做一个信心的宣告Declaration of Faith。那里面有些就是很好的 qualities，他都会宣告说 I am blessed, prosperous, redeemed, forgiven, talented, creative, confident, secure, disciplined, focused, prepared, qualified.Valuable, free, determined, equipped, empowered, accepted, anointed, approved. Not average, not mediocre. I'm a child of Most High God. I will become what I was created to be. In Jesus' name. 那这些宣告，我自己也觉得对我很大帮助。每天起来我都练习宣告。那这边红色部分，我个人觉得是我们的在工作上面需要具备的一些很好的 quality 像 talented、creative、confident 那这边有特别强调就是 prepared 下一张 slide 我会特别来强调这个 quality prepared 要准备充分特别是你在工作场公司上面有时要做一些 demo 产品的 demo， 不管是software 还是 hardware 还是任何的东西，你要 demo 给大家看或者 presentation 你要 present 东西我的建议是说，你最好要 dry run 或者 rehearsal 练习至少3次以上。那让我想到就是说，我的 team 下面，那常常2个礼拜就会做一些 demo 给大家看。那我记得有一次 demo，有2个 demo， 有一个是senior engineer 要做 demo， 有一个是 junior junior 一点的，他们做 demo。然后当这个 senior engineer demo 的时候，他就是开始做，怎么不 work？ 他做的一个 software，突然就不 work 了。然后他就跟大家解释，I swear it works 5 minutes ago。我发誓5分钟前还可以 work 了，现在怎么突然不 work？ 这样就很紧张的。然后当然他的 manager 说，没关系没关系，那我们下次来 demo 好了。接下来这个 junior 的 engineer demo， 他就从容不迫的从头到尾 run 的非常的顺利。然后讲解很清楚。那我们可以来想想看，就是这个品牌这可靠负责任的品牌是谁比较好？当然是这个 junior 的 engineer。那 what makes difference？ 当然很明显的就是这个 junior engineer 花很多时间去 dry run 或是 rehearsal 练习这个 demo， 那出来结果就是这样子。那这个 quality 这个是你的 brand 之一那真的要建立起来那很不幸的，我这个 senior engineer 他过了1-2个月又做一次 demo， 结果还是一样还是一样，就是说还是不 work， 就说刚刚明明可以 work， 为什么不 work？ 那基本上他就没有做到这一点be prepared。OK。另外呢，在 interview 上面更是我们要 well prepared 你除了要准备你 resume 上面写的任何的东西，任何 project 你都要知道怎么会答出来。甚至大家都知道technical 或 software 的 interview 就是考题那你一定要准备充分，你要练习那些题目，要刷题，然后 interview 的时候才能回答出来。然后上个月我们technical interview group 有个姐妹，然后她准备 interview， 她就想说，别人可能会问她，tell me your most challenging project， 你最有具挑战性的 project， 然后她就很认真去准备一些 slides 把她这个 project 怎么做的，甚至流程图等等都做得很棒。然后呢，他还特别来请我帮他 review 他的 slide 有什么需要改进的。最后他甚至要求我跟他做一个 mock interview， 让他练习他 present 他的这个 slides。结果他去 interview 的时候，那果然他就很顺利拿到这个 job offer。甚至那个 interview 跟他说，哇，我从来没有看到一个candidate 准备得这么好这样子所以就是说这个 prepared 是一个你的品牌里面一个很好的一个 qualities， 你要 always be prepared 当你要 present 当你要 demo 的时候一定要记得要好好的准备。然后另外就是说第二个你的品牌也是由你的强项来组成的这个your strength 你的强项就是可以跟别人有什么不一样那这些去了解你的强项是很重要的因为可以知道你的特别的 talents 在哪里还有说可以 maximize 你的 potential 你的潜力在哪里那所以我很鼓励大家可以去 可以去了解你的强项在哪里，然后把这个强项优点变成优势。那坊间有一些 tool 你可以去来做看看哈。那我曾经做过，就是在一个 Clifton 的 Strengths Assessment 它是 Gallup， 它公司是有了一个 tool， 但它好像要付一些钱去做，但是它会帮你分析。那你了解你的强项或长处之后，你就可以尽量的扩大发挥你的长处，那变成自己的品牌，跟与众不同，跟别人不一样的哈。Okay. 那这个 Clifton Strengths Assessment 呢，它基本上就会它会问你做一些 survey， 很多问题问你，那你要就回答哈。然后最后呢，它帮你分析，然后报告出你 Top 5前5个最强的一个强项。那它的 strengths 呢，它基本上会分成4个部分，4个 category。第一个就是说 strategic thinking， 你的强项是不是在这种策略思考方面呢？下面就有列出一些例子。第二个呢，就是说你的强项是不是在 relationship building， 这边包括很多empathy harmony 等等。第3个就是 influencing， 你的强项是不是在能够有影响力 activator maximizer 等等。最后就是一个 executing 执行力，你的强项是不是你的执行力很强？那包括 achiever focus discipline 等等。就是说你的强项有可能在其中某几个 category 有可能都有，但5个里面会分布在，很少也会只分布在1个。我看到至少都会分布在2个 category 这样子。那做完之后，你就会知道说，你的强项在哪里，你就尽量去发挥你的强项，就变成你的品牌大家知道，你就是这样子有这种品牌的人。好，那我做完之后，那他给我报告，那我 Top 5 Strengths 呢，我的前5个强项呢，就包括 Achiever， 就是我是一个很喜欢把事情做出来执行力很强的一个人。另外呢，我是一个 positive 人，我常常希望，我常常就是看到困难、看到挑战的时候，我常常看到后面的机会，不是看到问题的本身。另外，Wu就是说我希望make people happy，让他们喜欢我，让他们我也得到他们的 support。再就 harmony， 我希望我的团队，我的 team 是一个都处在一个 harmony 的情况下，大家可以好好的做事。然后 maximizer， 我希望我是可以尽力把我的能力发挥work hard， 然后从 good 到 better 到 best， 这是我的强项的分析。然后另外呢，鼓励大家可以做一个 exercise， 当你了解你的有哪些 quality 或者 strengths 之后，你可以试着看去做一个 presentation， 自己练习看看，就是说 why can your manager and partner trust you？ 为什么他们要可以信靠你？基本上就是 present the brand 这样子。那你可以来 present 你的 qualities 特质有哪些strengths 强项有哪些，或经验哪些经验。Okay. 那这是我自己本身在我们公司，我们engineering leadership team， 我们有一次有一个练习叫 engineering leader 做这些 presentation。那我做的就是说，面对我的 customer， 我怎么跟他 present 我的brand 让他们可以 trust 我。那我选择的 customer 是说我们的 PM product manager， 他们负责开发设计一些公司的产品那我跟他讲，首先我说我是谁我是一个有经验的一个 engineering 的 leader 那我带领过一些 project 能顺利把它复杂的 project 能顺利把带领这个团队把它做出来然后呢，我的一些能力强项是什么呢？因为我有27年工作经验，在一些大小公司做过事。然后呢，我是一个 high achiever 我会 get things done， 我会把它执行出来。最后我强调说，这个是一个 John Doerr 他的一个 quote 他就说 execution is everything 就执行力非常重要的这是我一个 presentation。最后我要想跟大家分享一个基督徒同事的故事 她是在奈及利亚出生的一个非裔的一个女生，她叫 Jessica 她2010年从奈及利亚飞到美国来念大学，就拿奖学金，因为她家里不是很有钱那她来的时候，她口袋里面有100块从奈及利亚飞到美国这100块，因为她靠奖学金来念书。然后他在5岁的时候，他的父亲不幸过世，车祸身亡。他母亲因为非常绝望的时候走进教会，他们有4个孩子，他母亲有4个孩子。他到教会的时候，听到牧师那天讲到，就是说，人的尽头就是神的开头。他母亲那天信主，然后带着4个小孩全部都信主然后辛苦的把他们孩子抚养长大。然后全部都送到美国来念大学，很不容易。那 Jessica 呢，她是在2014年summer 的时候来我们公司做 summer intern， 然后刚好分到我的 team 下面，然后我就发现，这个年轻人非常的不错很负责，很努力这样子。所以3个月之后，我们就把他转成full time， 然后他在我下面做了大概3年半，然后我给他一个是 promotion。然后他的品牌呢，我觉得有2个第一个就是说他非常 responsibility 很强，交给他的 project， 交给他的任务，他一定做好一定做好，从头到尾做好，而且跟你报告他随时的进度或碰到什么困难，然后这个 product ship 出去之后，他会做一些报告，看我们 user 用的怎么样。然后第二个就是说他 always proactive， 很主动下一章我会来讲他怎么主动法OK， 他主动是在于他帮助别人他常问同事 How can I help you？ 他甚至问我Paul What can I do for you？ What can I help you？ 这样子很主动另外呢，他很主动的 ask for feedback， 他说 Hey Paul， 你觉得我这个 quarter 表现怎么样？有什么需要改进的地方吗？他非常主动问，然后他就改善，我给他一些建议，他就改善。然后他很主动的要 promotion， 他说 Paul， 我觉得我已经达到你要求，我觉得我应该promote 到 next level 了那后来真的我就给他一次 promotion， 然后他也主动去要机会说 Paul 有没有什么更大的 project 我可以来做，甚至我可以来 lead 来带然后甚至说他后来呢，他就去换到另外一个 group， 因为他跟我说他想要学machine learning， 刚好我们有个 machine learning 有个 opening， 他就过去了然后他也拿了 promotion 变成 senior， 然后1年后他们这个 team 需要找一个 manager， 他也主动说我可以试试看看，他就拿到这个 major position 然后今年初他又在寻找机会，然后他找到一个机会，他出来要创立 startup 公司那他的例子给我看到说，他也是一个很谦卑依靠神的一个基督徒，然后他在公司里面就是有个很好的品牌，大家都很喜欢他，所以他离开的时候，我们公司都很不舍得OK， 好，那我今天的 presentation 就到这边谢谢大家来看我的 presentation， 谢谢，拜拜。
谢谢 Paul 给我们这么好的这个I'd like to thank Paul for giving us a great overview of personal brand, give us very practical ways to discover, identify, and develop our strength into personal brands. So the next speaker will be Dr. Chito Hernandez. Hey, Chito, can you start to share your? I'm going to stop sharing, so you can start to share your screen while I introduce you. Okay, great. So Chito is a PhD statistician and a life science executive. He's a very experienced leader in data science organization. He's currently a group VP, head of data science at BioMarine Pharmaceutical. So I work in this organization. Chito actually recruited me. I see that he's going to show that he recently become a grandpa. Congratulations, Chito. So I thought about inviting Chito to speak here. Part of the reason is that Chito is also leading a similar program, mentorship program at one of our local professional association. He called that Yoda project, and I know he's very passionate about that. And also, and in one of our conversations, he mentioned that he wants to help the Asian Pacific Islanders in my company to become executive. And he mentioned the word breaking glass ceiling. Then that hit me that we actually have a common goal here. So it's great to have Cheeto here sharing with us today. There's so much we can learn from him. He's the best head of data science I've ever known. He really cares about people. He's great at communicating visions. He's a great leader. Very good at articulating the value of the group. And there are many other things Cheeto is very good at. He oftentimes tell stories that actually, if you are Christians, you will know the biblical root of those stories. And he's very inspiring. He's almost expected to do something, say something at the all-staff meeting to just elevate the atmosphere, bring positive energy. I thought that I'm really curious about how he built up, his brand. So without further ado, I'm going to pass on to Cheeto. And so Cheeto, we try to end at 2:15. So okay. if you can leave 5 minutes for Q&A, that would be great.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you so much for inviting me to this venue. I kind of like the song that we started with, Jesus being the center. And I was thinking about branding this morning during my walk, and I realized that we have to have really only one brand, and that is we are Christians, right? So we are followers of Jesus. And the question is, how does that manifest in our workplace? So I prepared a slide deck, and it's all over the place, but I think that the first presentation provided kind of like a framework for the personal branding. And I kind of will touch on various aspects, and perhaps we can have a little bit of time later to discuss this more. Just to give you an idea of where I'm coming from, I grew up in the Philippines and came to the US for grad school. And it turned out that I became a born-again Christian right before I came to the US. The year prior, and in the U.S. we've lived in a lot of places. You can see the different cities and states we've lived in, and just kind of to give you kind of a broad picture, I've changed jobs multiple times. Represented by those arrows, and within those arrows, I also changed jobs within the company. The red splash mark is when I got laid off in a couple of companies. Those were actually pretty big highlights of my life because I learned a lot through that process. And you can see there too that I was CEO for a little bit because I started a company doing consulting work, which was also pretty interesting. The other part of my life, of course, is more of the personal life. We got married, my wife and I, Chris. We've been married for 33 years, and we have 2 children. You can see where they were born there and underneath. And then my older one actually is now married. She's been married for turning 6 years in May. And when I was flipping through the slides, you saw this is a picture of our first granddaughter. Her name is Charlotte. Her nickname is Charlie, but her middle name is Jiaying. And what I was told is that the meaning of Jiaying is luminous light. So we'll assess that further. That's her, 1 week old. All right. I really did not have a clue how my life would play out. I did not start out saying that I want to be a life science executive, or even in the beginning, the passions and interests that I will have. After all those moves and life changes, what was consistent was my desire to love God and to love others, and the desire to have a unique contribution to bless others and build his kingdom. What is that I uniquely bring to this world? I ask myself. And all of us have to ask that of ourselves. There is that unique thing. So why don't I start off by just kind of like talking about a brand that perhaps you would recognize. So the sound that you hear there is my daughter driving out. She souped up this car, and so it has a loud roar in it. So the timing is perfect. Let us go through this graphic here. I've driven a 911 before. It's a Porsche. It's a lot of fun. Did you know that in the 1960s, the earlier Porsches can go from 0 to 60 miles per hour in 15 seconds? Super fast at that time. A Honda Accord that you can buy today for about $35,000 can do it in 5.3 seconds. Of course, that is an unfair comparison. So what can a Porsche do today? About 2.5 seconds. Of course, it'll cost you over $200,000 if you want that speed. Another piece of trivia is Porsche's tagline. In the bottom left, it says, "There is no substitute." Now, why do I tell you this? I want to pick up a couple elements from this story. First is engineering. Porsche's engineering is remarkable and intentional. The model was to infuse the Porsche DNA throughout the vehicles they produce. You can see that in the evolution of the 911. It was engineered that way. How about you? Have you thought about engineering your brand? Second is the tagline. There is no substitute. It sounds arrogant, but that is how they designed it, and that is what they want to be. Porsche wants you to know that there is no substitute. Their tagline is very connected to their engineering, to what they want to do. Do you have a tagline? Now, this question I will raise again later because it's kind of connected to the brand. It's almost as if it's like a contraction of your brand. And I'll give examples later on. So what I mean by engineering your brand, I mean to plan and direct it skillfully or to guide through. So this whole thing about branding is something that perhaps something that we don't think about much, but the reality is we have a brand. Let me give you a number here, 1440. That represents something. Let me pause there and see if anybody could guess. What is 1440? What does it remind you of? Even the math people, what do you think? No?
12 times 110, 120?
1440 is the number of minutes you have in a day. Now, you don't get any more or any less than any other person. You always have a choice, though, on how to use those minutes, right? But 100,000 represents the number of hours you will spend working. That is half of your waking hours. Now, whatever you pick up in this next several minutes, you can think more broadly about not only your work, your brand, but your life. So you can use kind of similar principles. But as I mentioned today, it's so nice to speak to other Christians, brothers and sisters in Christ, because this is kind of like, like we have to really, really think that our life here on earth is very short. And so we have to kind of make use of it in a very special way, using our unique talents. So I like to give some quotes here. So if you, here are some of them. The first one I don't have a reference to. If you're not branding yourself, you can be sure that others will do it for you. Okay, so even if you brand yourself, others will still do it for you. But nonetheless, this is one of the things that is important, is you have to control the narrative if you can. Jeff Bezos, the former Amazon founder and CEO, says that your brand is what people say about you when you are not in the room. That kind of makes sense. And then Zig Ziglar, he actually is a salesperson. If people, a very old, well-known salesperson, he says, if people like you, they will listen to you. But if they trust you, they'll do business with you. So that was actually the word trust came up in the earlier presentation, and that's a very important element of building your brand. So you are given this gift. God has given you this gift. And this gift is one where you are the best at, right? And you add tremendous value, and where you stand out. This is something that is clear for most people. It's like this, you know it right away, what that gift is. But even if you don't, there is an opportunity to find that and search for that. And there are lots of tools available for you to find what that gift is. But you have options on how you will use this gift. You can show it to others, or you can hide it. You can share it with others, or you can keep it from others. You can glorify God with your unique gift, or you can glorify yourself. Now, let's get us all in the same place by defining what it means to have a personal brand. It's the confluence or the meeting place of your telling your story and others telling your story. So you have your identity, which is a combination of your passions, strengths, and purpose, which is an internal thing. And then you have your reputation, which is external. Essentially, this is what you are known for. Now, how you tell your story affects how people tell your story, but it will be subject to a lot of externalities. So the key is that you need to control what you can control. So let's think about why you might consider having a personal brand. One is it sets you apart. And this is something that was also presented earlier. It builds your credibility. It generates opportunity to network and to find new jobs, for example. But I believe the last one is a little bit understated. Perhaps, though, it is the most important. It helps you focus. If you have a brand, you will be able to focus on what that represents. And therefore, you will develop yourself a certain way. You will present yourself a certain way. So this will help you understand what you need to master to best serve the people you want to serve. Okay, so now how do you go about building this brand? Well, you have to write out your brand statement, and that was mentioned earlier as well. And where I want you to start is start off with a tagline, and that's what they did earlier with the Porsche statement of "There is no substitute." That is a tagline. I have a tagline, and so you should have a tagline too. If you want to know my tagline, connect with me and we'll discuss it offline, because I want to know yours as well. Use social media. So for us in our careers, one good place is LinkedIn, and you can easily define your brand statement in the top line there, where you describe yourself. Also, you can tell your story over and over again. This is important, right? If you say you are one thing and you believe that, you better tell everybody. And that way it's well known. It's kind of like having this gift and sharing it with others, making it known that you have that gift so that you can share it with others. The next one is probably one of the more important ones as well, is to network and do things with others that reflect your brand. So Cheng mentioned earlier that we are part of this organization composed of leaders in the data science industry for the pharmaceutical business. And there we certainly make sure that people know what our brands are. Okay, so let me show you this picture. I don't know if Cheng has seen this, but anybody has a guess on whose wrists these are? What's that?
I'm like, I don't get why it's so.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Did I lose you or here? Cheng, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I don't think there was any answer to your question.
Yeah, so let me just answer it. It's this is the wrist of Steph Curry. So he's very popular right now because they're playing the Nuggets in the playoffs for the NBA. So let me explain what's on his wrist. On the left wrist, it says TCC. It stands for trust, commitment, and care. This is the basketball slogan for Davidson, where he played college ball. On the right, it's Hebrew for 1 Corinthians 13:8, and it means love never fails. If I were to guess Steph's tagline, that probably is not too far from love never fails. And you know 1 Corinthians 13 being the love chapter. Now, what do you believe in? The reason why belief matters is your tagline, your brand should connect with your behaviors, your emotions, your thoughts, and your beliefs. they should sync up. Otherwise, you will always be a little off, and there will always be this itch that you cannot scratch. So let me show you this interesting. So the logo is called the Splash. You could imagine that Steph Curry is very popular now, right? So he has his own logo. It's called the Splash. If you remember, if you watch basketball, Steph Curry and Klay Thompson are called the Splash Brothers, right? Because they shoot real well, everything goes in. And the design started by using the stroke of Steph Curry's signature as the foundation for the logo. The S clearly stands for Steph, while the C stands for Curry, which is his family legacy and was very important for him to include in the design. The high wing, you see that little thing on top of the S and the C in the logo, right? The high wing, it's called, is a reminder to always lead life and the game to fulfill his higher purpose. So if you followed Steph Curry at all, you know he's a Christian, and he's not ashamed to share his thoughts about it. Okay. So instead of working out the brand here, let us go back to the taglines, which is the precursor to the brand statement. Here are some examples of taglines, okay? Taglines. Small things, great love. The person who wrote this has a desire to do a simple, loving gesture daily. This person might be in the retail industry, for example, interested in providing great customer service. Have less, do more, be more. Somebody who wants to simplify, less stress, but still do well. Perhaps an executive in a big corporation aiming to go to a nonprofit to be more on the service side of things. Let go, somebody who might be a perfectionist and does not want that burden anymore. Maybe an artist, for example. Strike first. I picked it up from the Karate Kid, Cobra Kai. Maybe someone who struggled and was not assertive enough, or someone who needed great motivation. Perhaps a car salesman. Big dreams, bold choices. Maybe someone who wants to take some risk and have courage to do something about her ambitions. A venture capitalist, for example. Thankful, somebody who just wants to enjoy life. A retiree, for example. So please feel free to share your tagline in the chat, like just kind of for fun. I am sure that in your minds, you have something. Like if you were to say what your brand is, if you're going to say what that tagline is for you, what would it be? Okay, so just put it on the chat. I know some of you might not be very comfortable doing that, but I just wanted to see what the different ones are. Help me help you. I like that. From Michael. Any others? Make a difference. Help others succeed. Nice. There are these natural ones. Move fearlessly. Do it right away without fear. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst. Yeah, so most of you have something underneath that is almost ready to go, right? Like being trustworthy, right? So there is something there that immediately, that immediately comes to mind. So let me go to the next slide. This is kind of my suggestion for you guys in terms of your homework. Think about your tagline and refine and perfect it. Expand it to a brand statement of 3 to 4 sentences that communicate the vision of your personal brand. So if you think of a brand, like when you see a Porsche, right? There are certain things that come to your mind, right? There are certain things, like maybe something that will come to mind will be something like luxurious or engineering or fast or the best or something along those lines. There's certain things that immediately come to mind. And that's what you want people to be able to say immediately about you, right? And maybe it's not like that yet, but that's what you want to happen. You want people to say this about you, whether you are or you're not in the room, right? So that's kind of the concept. So you create this brand statement and then you share it with someone and you pick it apart because perhaps it requires a lot of refinements. And then when you are comfortable with it, put it out there, let people know and make your brand known. So let me pause there and we have a little bit of time to chat a little bit, just kind of to see to hear your thoughts about it, and if you have any questions or let me stop sharing. There we go.
Okay, so we have one question here, and for the others, if you have questions, maybe it's easier for you just type in the chat. So Chiro, could you elaborate a little bit more on a previous point when you say having a personal brand would help one focus?
Yeah. Okay. So here, what I mean by that is, let's talk about a brand like we saw earlier. Cheng, remind me again what yours was.
Help others succeed.
Okay. Help others succeed, right? And so if that is your brand, if people know that that is your brand, right? You yourself know that that is the brand you want to put out there in terms of your stories. You're going to then figure out and learn more about how you can do it, right? So if you want to help others succeed, what will make you be a good person to go to help them succeed, right? So if that's always in your mind, then that will be something that you will try to be a master in. So for example, you saw initially what I said was Chito Hernandez, PhD, Group Vice President, Data Sciences, BioMarin. That's what I wrote initially when I put the deck together. And then right before the meeting, I changed it. And then at the very end there, I said life science executive. So that's what it is now, right? But I said mentor and coach. But if I were to just change it to a single word, I'm going to put coach, right? And so if that's my brand, then in order for me, if I know that that's my brand, I want to be the best at it. So that will focus me. Everything I see, everything I read, I think about how can I be a better coach. That's what I mean by focus.
Great, thank you. Another question is, what if my strength is not aligned with my desired brand? I will add to it, how do you use others' feedback to develop your brand?
Yeah. No, that actually is the truth for most people, right? For most people, your desired brand is not exactly the same as your strength. And so the reason why you, in this, notice the word desired, right? You have a certain kind of passion for something, and it's not connected to the strengths that you currently have. That's why I mentioned earlier is that if you know what your brand, what your desired brand is, you're going to be a lot more focused in order for you to get good at whatever that is. And so, but you know, like the brand has to be realistic too, right? So let me give you an example. I like playing basketball, right? I really, really like to play basketball. So in the beginning of the year, I started shooting and doing dribbling drills. Every day I shoot, every day, right? So now I can shoot, my record is 23 straight free throws I sink, 13 3-pointers I sink consecutively, right? But if I say my brand is future NBA player, that's not the right brand, right? So it has to be realistic. And so there's a lot of balance there, but I think that was not the intent of the question. The intent of the question is, if there's a gap, what do I do, right?
Thank you so much, Chiro. And we're at the time. Really appreciate you joining us today and giving us such a great talk. And
I think they're about to finish.
Okay, so I just unmuted everybody. So let's give Chiro a round of applause.
All right. Thank you. Thank you all for having me.
Yeah, we're trying to do the homework, and this recording will be put on YouTube channel so more can benefit from that.
Okay. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and so yeah, as I said, 这是我们最后一次，所以有些组可能已经聚会或者不同时间聚会了。那如果你的组是今天聚会的话，那就请你去加入到你的各个组里面。那希望在这个毕业典礼的时候大家再见面。那我们的毕业典礼每次都有非常精彩的见证啊，所以也许不是每个人都能够毕业，但是一定要来听一下我们这些学员的这个见证，他们的学习。好，那我们就到这里哈，谢谢大家。